if you've been paying attention, we have this huge conflict in Syria that Trump says we're on the way out of. He comes out 6 days ago in a press conference, and he'd said it about 10 days ago in Ohio. It's time to leave. It's time to get out. However, now all of a sudden, well, let me tell you, that's not what they're about to do. And we know there's been strikes by Israel. Apparently, 3 of those missiles or 5 of those missiles were intercepted, depending on who you believe. We have Iranians that are dead. This is sparking much more than a proxy war. Now, we heard from him earlier today, but now we hear from him because the FBI has raided his lawyer's office. And here's the thing. Look, I'm not playing Team Trump here. I don't love Donald Trump. That's not what We Are Change is about. It's about right and wrong. It's not about right and left. Okay, but at the same time, this whole Russia investigation has been fictitious. They have found no collusion whatsoever. Okay, it's a big problem. It's been over 12 months. How much money have they spent? That's something nobody is even talking about. So now his lawyer's office has been raided. They're trying to get him to talk, and not because they think that he colluded with Russia. They're trying to get him on a perjury charge at this point. They're just trying to say that he lied so they can try to impeach this man. Now, again, he goes right along in foreign policy, but he seems to be having second thoughts. Remember, he just said he wanted out. That's the furthest thing away from reality right now. But we're going to go to Trump. We're going to go over this entire little press conference. Because it's not a press conference. It's an emergency cabinet meeting. And he throws some punches. He talks Jeff Sessions. He talks Mueller. He talks Syria. Okay? It's pretty wild stuff. Now, let's see. First we're going to watch the beginning when he's talking tough on Syria. And then we're going to go back and we're going to go to him actually, talking about this FBI raid and his lawyer. Let's go to him right now.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin by condemning the heinous attack on innocent Syrians with banned chemical weapons. It was an atrocious attack. It was horrible. You don't see things like that, as bad as the news is around the world. You just don't see those images. We are studying that situation extremely closely. We are meeting with our military and everybody else, and we'll be making some major decisions over the next 24 to 48 hours. We are very concerned when a thing like that can happen. This is about humanity. We're talking about humanity, and it can't be allowed to happen.
All right, so there he is. Now, to give him credit, he did not just go out and blame Assad, okay? He acted as though, he's going to reserve some judgment. Whether he does or not, I really don't know at this point. I don't think that that's it's probably not the case because, again, we've seen where we're at here, folks, and he is in lockstep with the military-industrial complex. Again, we know that he knew about the missile bombardment that was coming beforehand. So, now he's holding this cabinet meeting, and again, it is pretty disgraceful. So, I don't even know what to say. You'd think that they wouldn't want to get him out because of the foreign policy, but the bottom line is they seem to keep trying to get him out. So we're going to go to that right now.
They broke into the office of one of my personal attorneys, good man, and it's a disgraceful situation. It's a total witch hunt. I've been saying it for a long time. I've wanted to keep it down. We've given I believe over 1 million pages worth of documents to the special counsel. They continue to just go forward, and here we are talking about Syria. We're talking about a lot of serious things with the greatest fighting force ever. And I have this witch hunt constantly going on for over 12 months now. And actually much more than that. You could say it was right after I won the nomination it started.
So let's stop right there. I would say that, in all honesty, the witch hunt part of this, he's correct. And it was before he got the nomination. First, they kind of laughed at him. But as people started dropping out during the debates, the attacks absolutely started to happen. Okay? And this is really unprecedented. Again, the people that are actually cheering Mueller on, I can't believe it. I don't understand what you're thinking. Again, the idea that Robert Mueller is a good guy, he's not a good guy, folks. I promise you he's not a good guy. He's the guy that helped cover up 9/11, and they would rather have a Hillary Clinton in there. All right? But let's keep going because there's so much going on. If you haven't noticed, the man to his side, that's John Bolton. And it's John Bolton's first day on the job. And this is a guy who's wanted a piece of Syria for a long time. So we're going to get there. Let's go back to the president.
And it's a disgrace. It's frankly a real disgrace. It's an attack on our country in a true sense. It's an attack on what we all stand for. So when I saw this and when I heard it like you did. I said, that is really now in a whole new level of unfairness. So this has been going on. I saw one of the reporters who is not necessarily a fan of mine, not necessarily very good to me. He said, in effect, that this is ridiculous. This is now getting ridiculous. They found no collusion whatsoever with Russia. The reason they found it is there was no collusion at all. No.
All right, so let's stop him right there. Obviously, he meant to say the reason they didn't find it is because there was no collusion. And remember, things have sort of shifted gears in the last couple weeks with Cambridge Analytica and them using Facebook again, but not really mentioning Russia. Okay, and they've kept trying to get him to admit that he had this affair with Stormy Daniels. And you're going to see that later in this press conference. One woman is just rabid. That's all she wants to know. Nobody cares about, the deaths in Syria, the possible tens of thousands of deaths that could occur in the coming months, the possible conflict, hot conflict with Russia from this, possibly getting into it with Iran. Remember, John Bolton has cheered conflict with Iran, and he was one of the big cheerleaders for the Iraq war before it started, before he was even in the second Bush administration. See, they named him a UN ambassador to the United Nations in that administration because he was a nice little PNAC neocon lapdog that was promoting this idea of flowers in the streets with all these other delusional military-industrial complex puppets. So let's get back to the president, and he's talking about the no collusion. He's about to get into it with Robert Mueller.
No collusion. This is the most biased group of people. These people have the biggest conflicts of interest I've ever seen. Democrats, all, or just about all, either Democrats or a couple of Republicans that worked for President Obama. They're not looking at the other side. They're not looking at the Hillary Clinton horrible things that she did and all of the crimes that were committed. They're not looking at all of the things that happened that everybody is very angry about, I can tell you, from the Republican side, and I think even the independent side. They only keep looking at us. So they find no collusion, and then they go from there and they say, well, let's keep going. And they raid an office of a personal attorney early in the morning.
All right, let's stop him there. He's got great points. I don't love how, again, he's making it about a left and right issue. He says some Republicans that worked for Obama and that administration. Obviously, he's alluding to the likes of John McCain. And, McCain's out there, by the way, saying that Trump emboldened this military strike by saying that he was going to pull out of Syria. You see, that's the kind of rhetoric I can't stand. When a politician attacks another politician for trying to go the peaceful route and blames a military strike on him. So the chemical weapons attack, you could argue that. Unfortunately, in a roundabout way, in an ironic way, he may be right because this doesn't look like Assad. You're going to see Trump admits in this press conference that ISIS is almost defeated and they are on their last legs. So, why in the world would Assad do this when the mission that we supposedly went in for is almost over. But we're going to continue with Trump. He's going to address his lawyer situation a little more. He's going to talk some Mueller and I believe some Jeff Sessions coming up.
And I think it's a disgrace. So we'll be talking about it more. But this is the most conflicted group of people I've ever seen. The Attorney General made a terrible mistake when he did this and when he recused himself, or he should have certainly let us know if he was going to recuse himself, and we would have put a different Attorney General in. So he made what I consider to be a very terrible mistake for the country. But you'll figure that out. All I can say is after looking for a long period of time, not even before the special counsel, because it really started just about from the time I won the nomination. And you look at what took place and what happened, and it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. I've been president now for what seems like a lengthy period of time. We've done a fantastic job. We've beaten ISIS. We have just about 100% of the caliphate or the land. Our economy is incredible. The stock market dropped a lot today as soon as they heard the noise of, this nonsense that's going on.
All right, let's stop him right there for a moment. So right there, we have almost 100% of the caliphate or the land. We've got it. Mission accomplished, baby. And, let's give him a little credit. He's not out on ships like some presidents were when it was far from mission accomplished in Iraq. Remember that moment? Remember that? Everybody seems to forget. I don't feel like I'm that old that I'm forgetting that. I believe he did it in, within months. It was in 2003, mission accomplished. Or was it in 2000? It doesn't even matter. We're still in Iraq. And the minute this guy says we're getting out of Syria, that we've done our job, ISIS is almost defeated, we have 100% of the land, this chemical attack happens, and this military strike happens by Israel. The United States knew about it, and he's going to talk about basically military retaliation and saying, hey, you won't know about it until after it happens. And you just see the mustached man next to him. He can't wait. He is gearing up with that mustache. You're going to be twisting that mustache in the wind. Oh, we're going in, and we're taking them down. Back to Trump.
It dropped a lot. It was up, way up, and then it dropped quite a bit at the end, a lot. But that we have to go through that. We've had that hanging over us now from the very, very beginning. And yet the other side, they don't even bother looking. And the other side is where there are crimes, and those crimes are obvious. Lies under oath all over the place. Emails that are knocked out, that are acid washed and deleted. Nobody's ever seen. 33,000 emails are deleted after getting a subpoena for Congress, and nobody bothers looking at that. And many, many other things. So I just think it's a disgrace that a thing like this can happen.
So let's give him credit again. There are real crimes, and we do know that Hillary Clinton lied under oath again and 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 again, and there is a double standard here. Now, don't get me wrong. Trump rubbed those elbows with those Clintons. They were his buddies. He rubbed elbows with people like Epstein as well. He's got demons in his closet. But as far as the double standard goes, they haven't been able to catch him in a lie that will get him perjured. They haven't. And obviously there's no Russian collusion because it didn't exist. It's imagination land. And when that falls apart, they bring out the big guns with Cambridge Analytica using big data that every single company does and has been doing. And it's something, again, people like myself, people like Luke, others have been warning about for well over a decade. We live in a track, trace, and database society. And all the apologies in the world by Mark Zuckerberg aren't going to change that. It's not going to... You think that the new apps to let you opt out are going to make one slight bit of difference? That your digital communications aren't being taken everywhere? And it's not just digital communications. Yeah, they're tapping into your microphone. They're tapping into your cameras. It's a fact. It's a fact, Jack. You better get used to it. Or you better speak up and say, hey, we got to stop this. And we're not even just talking about government entities, because government entities, hey, the guy up into the corner right over here, this guy over here, he loves that. He's pro-police state. He loves surveillance state. It's another big contention I have with Trump. But when he sits there and he talks about emails that are magically deleted, they're not magically deleted. He's right. They could find them if they wanted to. Again, it's a digital communication. Okay? So the double standard here, you got to give Trump the credit. He's right. So we're going to go back to the Trumpster and let him have his say.
With all of that being said, we are here to discuss Syria tonight. We're the greatest fighting force anywhere in the world. These gentlemen and ladies are incredible people, incredible talent. And we're making a decision as to what we do with respect to the horrible attack that was made near Damascus. And it will be met, and it will be met forcefully. And when, I will not say, because I don't like talking about timing. But we are developing the greatest force that we've ever had. We had $700 billion just approved, which was the reason I went along with that budget, because we had to fix our military. General Mattis would tell you that above anybody. We had to fix our military.
So let's stop him right there. We had to fix our military. There's going to be a response. You won't hear about it or the timing. $700 billion towards fixing the military. Well, let me tell you something. Yeah, the military was broken because it's been taken over by special interests, and really maybe even born in special interests. And after World War II, we built such a national security state that military-industrial complex kept rolling and rolling. And remember, World War II and the end of Eisenhower's presidency, mid-40s, early 60s, it didn't take long. It didn't take long for that domination. And, I'm sorry, Donnie T. I'm sorry, the Donald. But giving criminals what they want, another $700 billion, doesn't fix anything. And it's causing situations like this. And now we're going to, quote unquote, respond. We don't even know who did it yet. And you won't even own up to who did it. And you're going to see that in a moment as well. So let's go back to Trump. This is where I'm getting angry. Because a lot of kids are actually going to die. Okay? A lot of people are going to have their homes blown up. Rubble will be turned to rubble once more. And on top of all that, yeah, we're poking the bear, baby. And I don't want to hold a weapon against my fellow man in any situation. Not that I'm saying that, World War III is coming here and we're going to have ground troops. God knows what World War III looks like. And that's a fact too, because we don't know. We can't imagine what two superpowers going up against one another in something other than a proxy war looks like. So let's go back to Donald Trump.
And right now we're in a big process of doing that. $700 billion and then $716 billion next year. So we're going to make a decision tonight or very shortly thereafter. And you'll be hearing the decision. But we can't let atrocities like we all witnessed, and you can see that, and it's horrible. We can't let that happen. In our world, we can't let that happen. Especially when we're able to, because of the power of the United States, because of the power of our country, we're able to stop it. I want to thank Ambassador John Bolton for joining us. I think he's going to be a fantastic representative of our team. He's highly respected by everybody in this room. And John, I want to thank you very much. This is going to be a lot of work. Interesting day. He picked today as his first day. So, generals, I think he picked the right day. But certainly you're going to find it very exciting. But you are going to do a fantastic job, and I appreciate you joining.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
So there you go, folks. John Bolton, his best buddy. He can't get enough. Look at that Trumples, huh? There's the guy. He's the guy. He's gonna save us all. He's the one. And again, if you believe this stuff, you're not paying attention. You're just not paying attention. You don't know what's going on. And it's sad. You know, I want I want us to be able to, you know, live our lives and not go to war. And that's the bottom line. And then you got this guy right here who's got John Bolton next to him. And he's a great guy, that John Bolton. Remember, the alternative media is pushing John Bolton like you would not believe right now. That's lovely stuff, huh? John Bolton, the good buddy of, well, why don't we just say it? A good buddy of Roger Stone, likes to play poker with him. You know, you see all him, you know, and they spin this every way they possibly can for the president. All right? And at some point, folks, you've got to own up to the fact that he's not the best guy in the world. Okay? He's not the savior. He's done a couple of decent things, but he sits there with John Bolton next to him, basically exonerating a warmonger, giving him power and getting ready. It's a good thing it's his first day. Great thing that John Bolton's first day is the day we get to go after Syria, eh, Johnny B? So let's get to the press and their obsession with Stormy Daniels and just trying to get this president out because they know that there is no collusion in Russia. And, you know, they'll ask him first if they're going to find anything in the office. What do you think Trump's going to say? Give me a break.
No. No, I'm not.
Did you have an affair with Stormy Daniels?
Why don't I just fire Mueller? Well, I think it's a disgrace what's going on. We'll see what happens. But I think it's really a sad situation when you look at what happened. And many people have said you should fire him. Again, they found nothing. And in finding nothing, that's a big statement. If you know the person who's in charge of the investigation, you know all about that, Deputy Rosenstein, Rod Rosenstein. He wrote the letter very critical of Comey. One of the things I said, I fired Comey. Well, I turned out to do the right thing because you look at all of the things that he's done and the lies, and you look at what's gone on at the FBI with the insurance policy and all of the things that happened. Turned out I did the right thing. But he signed, as you know, he also signed the FISA warrant. So Rod Rosenstein, who's in charge of this, signed a FISA warrant, and he also signed a letter that was essentially saying to fire James Comey. And he was right about that. He was absolutely right.
So again, you know, Trump gets to use the backstabbing nature of the establishment to kind of prove his point. Because remember, they were all going after Comey when he had to reopen the Clinton investigation, only to later on whitewash it and not get into what was really in the emails and not investigate. But the other thing is that, you know, I've seen some posts about quote-unquote QAnon, and it's like, oh, they're trying to start a war. It's all them. Well, if the president knows that they are trying to start a war, and Assad didn't gas his own people, he's the president of the United States. He needs to speak out. He needs to tell us that. He needs to say, hey, we're hostage here. We got a big problem. But he's not doing that. And he's had every opportunity to do that. So let's let him finish up here, and then he kicks the press out. We'll wrap this up.
So we'll see what happens. I think it's disgraceful, and so does a lot of other people. This is a pure and simple witch hunt. Thank you very much. Thank you, please.
Will Rod Rosenstein keep his job?
Thank you.
Will Rod Rosenstein keep his job?
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you all.
Say it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
We are getting clarity on that. Who was responsible for the weapons attack? We are getting some very good clarity, actually. We have some pretty good answers.
Thanks, everyone. What are your options? Thank you.
So there it is.
We have a lot of options militarily, and we'll be letting you know pretty soon. Okay?
Thanks, everyone. Thank you all.
Probably after the fact.
Thank you.
Do you think Assad's lying?
John, thank
Do you
you.
think Assad's lying?
John, thank you.
Did you hear that at the end?
Thank you all very much.
Do you think Assad is
Thank you.
lying? One of the few journalists out there, do you think Assad is lying? Do you know who's actually responsible for the chemical attacks? Okay, couldn't answer that question. Didn't want to answer the Assad question. I wish he had. Come on, Trump. And there's Bolton with that mustache. Let's look at him one more time before we wrap this up. The man with the mustache. And remember, this is a cabinet meeting. And a pretty crazy one at that. So, you know, I'm glad you joined me for this initial broadcast over on Twitter via Periscope and over on the Backup YouTube channel. We went over it. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and you're going to spread this information to others. We don't want a larger situation with Syria. We want to find out what happened and punish who is responsible, because it is laughable to think that Assad did this. Thank you very much.